And the clown jumped over the moon.
Let's play Raid.
Hey, 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 hey! Hey, hey!
Let's go.